So I saw Creed 3 last weekend, opening night actually, and I loved it. Way more than I expected to be honest. I mean, I've enjoyed all of these movies, and I was never even necessarily the biggest Rocky fan, but this is easily my favorite of the new franchise. I really dig how stylized the boxing scenes are. You can see the anime influence everyone's been talking about right from the get-go, the way things will speed up or slow down for the punches. Also, I've seen the movie twice now, and both theaters just erupted when Amara punches the bully in the face. She even plants her foot. It's so cute. The movie is great. Honestly, my only real problem is that there seem to be parts where the film wants us to root against Jonathan Majors, and I just never did. I mean, I won't say Damien did nothing wrong, but given some of the context we're about to get into, I do feel like he did almost nothing wrong. And, you know, it's hard to be sure with the director's first time out the gate, but there are certain visual cues in particular that make me think this is coming from a very subtle but deliberate framing of Damien as the story's true underdog. I mean, the movie's called Creed. Adonis is the protagonist, and the film is centered from his perspective, and most of his actions are justifiable as well, but in a lot of ways I think Jordan is making a deliberate point by setting the antagonist up as the more sympathetic character. Yeah, I don't normally cover films when they're still in theaters like this. I prefer to wait for the home release when I can use whatever footage I need for the video and watch the movie over and over until I know it inside and out. But I couldn't get this idea out of my head and I just had to write about it. Adonis and Damien's backstory draws heavily from a 1938 film called Angels with Dirty Faces about two boys whose lives take radically diverging paths after an encounter with the police. The opening flashback establishes Damien as a guiding mentor figure to the young Adonis, who, though it's initially left ambiguous as to why, causes the conflict that would lead to Damien's arrest and imprisonment. Damien's nervous the first time they see each other after all those years. You can see it in his face and his hands and just the way he holds himself, in direct contrast to the mannerisms he later shows in the ring, by the way. Just before that first fight, when he and Felix are staring each other down, we get this close-up of their eyes, and Felix is all intensity and like hunting cat focus, like this is the most important fight of his life. Damien's expression is almost bored, the way you might look while you're at work performing some menial task. But he's nervous seeing his old friend again. He tries to open with a joke, but Adonis misses it and comes back at him kind of hostile, and you can see the disappointment etched across Damien's face that the kid he taught to box, who he essentially spent all those years in prison for backing up, didn't even remember him. You can tell he'd been thinking about this reunion for a long time, and we hear later about how he watched all of Adonis's fights while he was in prison and wrote him letters, even well into his adult life, even after not hearing back for years. They go to lunch and Adonis offers to help him, and granted, he probably wasn't expecting Damien to have as big of an ask as he does, but he did say, "Whatever I can do, whatever you need, just ask." And Damien asked, and he didn't do it. Now, I don't want to oversimplify the situation. What Damien wants requires Adonis putting his career and his reputation, something he's spent all this time and pain building, at risk. And that's a lot to ask for somebody you haven't seen in half your life, for somebody you don't even really know anymore, however close you may have once been. And it's not like Adonis doesn't do anything for him. He invites him to his father's gym so he can train and meet people, maybe build his reputation up a little bit. But it's not as much as he could be doing if he really pushed, and Damien's not wrong to feel like he might be owed something, by life if not by Adonis. Damien absolves him of responsibility for his incarceration at the end of the film, and what he says is true. They were children. Adonis isn't responsible for what happened. But Damien did go to prison, in part because he put himself on the line to help Adonis, who he taught to box, who we see Damien breaking off a piece of his own winnings for in the beginning. Damien's at the age where he is still capable of boxing at the level he wants to compete at. I mean, he wins the fight with Felix, so he was obviously worthy of the shot, but his clock is ticking, and he's entering the last phase of his life where this is still going to be possible.
I ain't had no pride, I ain't had enough. Legs are going, everything is going, no one's getting enough.
He basically says this to Adonis when he has dinner at his house and he sees everything boxing has brought into his friend's life, both the material wealth and the beautiful family he has. Damien has a meltdown when he gets back to the shitty apartment he's living in because he sees his own window of opportunity at that same life rapidly closing.
What's the matter? You don't like my house? My house stink? That's right, it stinks!
I see everyone on Twitter comparing him with Clubber Lang, and I guess I kinda see where that comes from, but I think it's a little bit off. Clubber Lang was younger than Rocky, and he had this history of brutal knockouts, but they make a point of Damien being older than Adonis, as well as a relative newcomer to the scene. Clubber was talking shit to goad the champ into taking his challenge, but Damien doesn't start trash-talking Adonis until after their confrontation and misunderstanding about the prison letters. Damien's already the champ at this point, and this is important, everything he says publicly about Adonis is related in some way to betrayal or abandonment. He has that line after he punches Adonis where he says, "Help yourself up for once, see how it feels," and that line just hits, and it says a lot about the place Damien is coming from and what's guiding his actions throughout the film.
You think I need you? No, when I got locked up, I needed you. When I came home, I needed you.
I needed your help about 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago. You never helped me. You didn't care.
Rocky Balboa and Adonis Creed were both allowed title shots by a twist of fate because they fit the right mold for a marketable gimmick. Damien, though obviously capable enough to fight at that level, isn't as marketable, so he manufactures his own twist of fate. The story is told through Adonis's perspective, but Damien is the one who really has the deck stacked against him, the one who needs this shot. He's not like Clubber Lang at all. He's like Rocky. And just like Rocky and Adonis in the first Creed movie, he goes the distance then loses in the end. To tell the truth, I'd feel more confident in this reading if it ended with Damien losing by decision the way they did, rather than Adonis knocking him out in the final round, and I really thought that's where they were going at first, but I don't know, maybe that would have been too obvious? It's hard to tell at this point how subtle a filmmaker Michael B. Jordan is. This is his first picture from behind the camera, and sometimes gauging this sort of thing requires the director to have a somewhat more extensive body of work that you can look through to get a general sense of their style. But there are certain visuals during their final fight that really make me think I'm onto something, and I wish I had a little more of that footage to work with, but let's see what we can do. Adonis is wearing white gloves and shorts, and Damien black while they're training. Part of this is playing up the whole white knight, black knight thing, this visual motif in American movies where the good guy wears white while the bad guy is dressed in black. But if you look closely, there seems to be a bit more happening. Adonis and his entire team are wearing these all-white American flag outfits, and Damien has diamonds on his waistband, because that was his fighting name, Diamond Damien. But what's interesting is that these diamonds, I think, are filled in with the Juneteenth colors, and, like, matched against the American flag, that has to mean something, right? This fight is very stylized, and it's more than just, whoa, anime, cool! There's a story being conveyed through these visuals where Adonis and Damien will blink between rounds and see their younger selves sitting across the ring as though no time has passed. After the first few rounds, the audience disappears and the ropes are replaced with prison bars, and when that falls away, time's jumped forward and we're going into the 12th and final round of the fight. This was Damien's career, his life in microcosm. A promising start, and then this huge gulf of time just vanishes behind prison bars, and when he comes out of that again, he's in his final chance, and standing in his way is that same old friend from before he blinked and half his life disappeared. Now, Adonis has worn a version of an American flag on his shorts in every one of these movies. That's just him embracing his father's legacy. But the juxtaposition of these images along with the prison bar sequence is saying something. And remember, Apollo Creed started out as the guy the underdog needs to overcome. Does any of this justify having Drago assaulted to clear a spot for him to fight Felix? No. That's why I say Damien did almost nothing wrong. I suppose you can point to him pushing the rules during that first round of his fight with Felix, but Drago was doing that same stuff against Adonis at the end of the last movie, so it's not like he replaced a clean fighter with a dirty one. I don't know what Duke gets off being angry about. The final round of that fight is one of the scenes that it makes me wonder if the seriousness of the character's reactions to what's happening is meant to seem a little absurd. Damien knocks Felix out and it's played like, he's gone too far. By doing what? Knocking out the other fighter? Is that not just, like, boxing? What is the big betrayal here? Oh, we didn't know he was gonna hit him hard! Drago put Adonis in the hospital the first time they fought, and his dad killed Apollo Creed on TV like it wasn't even shit.
If he dies, he dies.
oh, don't show your face at the gym for a little while. That fight didn't go how I thought it would. Oh!
I don't know, we're talking about very subtle delicacies of tone here, and this is what I mean when I say I just have to wait to see more of what Michael B. Jordan does to properly gauge the kind of director he is. I'm definitely intrigued to see what comes next, though. Thank you for watching. And in particular, I'd like to thank Big Scramps, Clyde Frog, Crown of Eyes, Dios, Cheryl Johnson, Craig Smith, Daniel, Il Caesar, James, Jamila, Jumbo Gines, Revan Crowley, Sam Ratliff, Terrence Edwards, The Bog Queen, and Volando for backing me on Patreon. If you'd like to support my channel like these, let's be honest, heroes, you can do so by visiting patreon.com/wormshole, where you can get ad-free early access to my videos as well as deleted scenes and extras for as little as $1 a month. Or, if you'd like to support my work through a one-time donation, you can do so by taking the dollar amount in cash, crumpling that up real tight, then shoving the lot wrist deep into your cheap fucking